Alright, for our next section, we are going to be looking at bar charts. So I just finished my pie chart. Looks good on my pie chart. Compare my cost and my sales. So let's get going on the bar chart. Alright, first instruction of the bar chart. I need to open up this document, which I've already done. And I am going to need to select A3, which is right here, A3, all the way over to B18. So A3, and then here's B18. So here we go, A3 to B18. And then also I want to highlight, it says here, D3 to D13. So I'm going to hit Control, D3 to D13. So what am I going to do with these selected sections now that you're able to select various sections? We are only going to be inserting a chart to reflect these numbers right here. That's it. So I'm going to go and start right with my insert, because as you can see in this document, everything's formatted. We're not doing any formatting. We're just going straight to the chart. So here we go, insert. And then from insert, I got to find the bar chart. So to see what chart it is, you can see it tells you what it is when you hover your mouse over it. It tells you what type of chart it is. So I'm looking for not statistical, not line or area, looking for bar chart. So I'm going to click on a bar chart. And then when I do the drop down, I have these different options. Let's go ahead and go with the 3D column bar chart. Actually, the instruction, I'm going to go on with the one the instruction shows, which will be a 3D bar chart facing this way from horizontal, left to right. Alright, with my chart, we're going to be doing a lot of editing to the actual chart. So, inside of a chart, I'm going to blow this up so we can see this a little better. We have a lot of things we could do, but let's go over some vocabulary. Here, we have our chart title. That's the name of our chart. Right under here, we have our legend. Our legend tells us what does each thing represent. So for instance, sales is blue and red is commission earned. So it's our legend. We also then have on the left-hand side where all these names are at, and we have underneath where these numbers are at. And then we have obviously inside the chart the graph. So there's vocabulary words that also go with what are the left side and what are the right side. So we have our x-axis and we have our x-axis and our y values. So first I'm going to go over an edit that we're going to do to we're going to format our x-axis. So the x-axis are the numbers right under the graph right here. So let's go ahead and format the x-axis. To do so, I'm going to click away, and I'm going to show you that you highlight these numbers. So now I'm on my x-axis. Now that I have the x-axis highlighted, I'm going to come into these options over here and see what I can change. So when I hit on the plus, it's showing me all the chart elements, such like I mentioned. We have our legend, if I wanted to focus on a certain part. We have our chart title, which is the top. We have our axes. So we're going to be messing with our x-axis. So if I can click on this arrow, there's more options of things I can edit. So I'm going to go and show you how to get to there again. I clicked on the plus. I know I'm working with my axes, my x-axis. So I click right here and then I click more options. Another way to get in there, there's a few ways. Let's try to, here's our chart styles, so that's not going to do anything. And then here I haven't showed you yet our filters. We're not doing anything with filters yet. So when I click on my graph, I can go through the plus, or if you look up here in our ribbons, we have different ribbons for chart styles, the design, what it looks like. And then we also have a format button if we want to format certain areas. If I go back into design, let's say I click select data, and we can also mess with data, but for now I think the best way without confusing you is to get into the menu option is, we'll just go this way like I just originally taught you. We click on the x-axis. We click on the plus. I see what I want to mess with. I click on the arrow to the right of it because I'm messing with axes. I say more options, and now it brings me into my menu essentially for my charts. So we are going to format our x-axis. The first thing I need to do is I need to change the major unit to fixed. So I'm looking for keywords, and here is the major unit. But before I go on, I want to show you that within the axis options you have different sections. You have the bucket, which is you messing with the design of what it looks like. Then we have this little octagon, which is other options to how you want it to look like, the design. Then we have the alignment, where you're aligning things of the graph. And then we have our actual options of numbers and how the graph looks specifically according to numbers. And that's what we're mostly going to be messing with, and we're going to look at the changes. So I'm going to go to major unit, so I'm going to find major, and these are my units. I'm going to make sure it's on 20,000, which it is. So that's perfect. If I was to change that, I want to show you though what it would look like. So let's change it to 100,000, and then on the bottom we have other options we can go through, and we would see what it will look like when it's done. But what you might have not have noticed is major units, it's changing these units right here. So now, instead of going every 20,000, it's going every 100,000 on my graph. So now here's 100,000, here's 200,000. Well, I don't want it to go every 100,000, so I'm going to change my major units back to every, there we go, 20,000. And there we go. I'm going to hit the reset button and it fixes it. So now it's back to every 20,000. That's what it should be at. So just leave it as every 20,000. But now you know what the major unit does. Alright, the next thing I'm looking at is I'm going to select my alignment, which is over here. And inside of alignment, I'm going to change the custom angle, which is right here, to 25. So I'm going to type in 25 degrees. And what did it change? Well, it slanted these. So for instance, if I was to put them at a 90-degree angle, now look where they're at. But I don't like that at all, so I'm going to go back and undo what I just did. And I'm going to change that custom angle to 25 degrees. Perfect. Alrighty. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a chart title. So I'm going to come up here and double click on the chart title. I'm going to change that name from chart title to Peer Imports Monthly Commission. Alrighty, got that one done. Now I'm going to add a green chart design. So to do so, make sure I'm clicked on the actual chart, and up here I have different designs, so I can go change colors. Let's go find a green one, and I'll go ahead and change that to a green design. So again, I'm using up here in my chart where I'm using my design up here, my ribbon. So I'm using my design ribbon, and I'm going to go, and if you want to, you can change the style to a different style. I'm just going to leave it to the custom style, and then I'm going to change the color to green. Alrighty. The next thing I need to do is I need to place the chart like it's shown in the example. So I'm going to need some more space. I don't need to use this menu option anymore, so I'm going to close it out. And I can open it up whenever I want by going to plus, access, arrow over, more options, but I don't need it right now, so I'm closing it out. Now I need to scoot this chart over, so I'm grabbing the chart, and I want it to position itself right in this space right here. So I need to size my chart down. In order to size my chart down, I'm going to grab the corner, and we're just going to size it as so. So as you can see, it changes what the chart looks like as you size it. So I'm still not done sizing it. Now I made it way too long, so I'm going to shorten it up right here. So in the example of the instructions, it's going to show your charts about like this. Perfect. And then that's what yours will look like. So I'm going to zoom out to give you a greater view. And now you can see, is my chart matching up correctly as the example? Yes, it is. So I can look at my monthly commission port. I can see my commission rate table. I can see all my data. We know how to do an average. We've used the buttons for maximum and minimum, and there's the average button as well over in our equations. So we could have done that one ourselves. We know how to do totals, the auto sum, and then we can look at this graph to compare. So obviously, who's doing the best? Without me having to go and look at all these numbers, I can just easily look over and see Haynes is getting the best on monthly commissions. Okay, I'm going to save, and now I'm going to move on to my line chart. So once you've finished, you will hit the save button, hit line chart, and then go ahead and check out the third video on line charts.